Whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the lab where we experiment thoughts and leave behind our moments as an ever growing young adult. Today we have Hanna Kim, who is a YouTube content creator, a psychology student, a leader in many ways and many places, and so on. So, like, before we start, like, Hannah, can you give us a basic introduction of who you are, what do you do, and like those cheesy, easy stuff, please?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah, and I'm a 21-year-old living in Sydney. As Peter's mentioned, I am doing YouTube. I also love to just create content in general. And yeah, just have a passion for editing. I am studying currently psychology and primary education on the side. And that's it. And I am so honored to be on this podcast today with Peace. So very, very excited.
Woo! Thank you. Shincha, I think like you are one of the first person that kind of popped up in my mind. Especially because like you're one of the close people around me in my circle who has like similar 성향. And it's like you keep me so accountable
Right,
in
right,
so many
right.
ways. And it's just like, oh, okay, I need to talk to Hannah. I need you on this podcast. I need to
Yeah.
have you on an episode. And
Oh.
yeah, just wanted to kind of talk with you and kind of break down your brain and see what you have. Yeah.
Yes. Book it all you want. I'm excited. I'm excited and nervous. I'm really nervous because it's so
Same.
different. I was mentioning to Pace how like, YouTube when you're editing videos at least you can cut parts out, you can add things in, but podcast is just, raw. Like, so I'm nervous, but it's a interesting experience, new experience for sure.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Cause like when I used to do vlogging as well, like I always love to capture the raw moment. And like when we edit, it's like you have to always go
Mm.
back. And like to be honest, after doing vlogs, it's like I never go back and watch my vlogs. But like I just love the
Right.
raw moment and like capturing the rawness because it's so special. Like this moment will never come back. And it's like, oh, so like special. Sorry.
Mm.
But yes, like you are a person who I think like you crave for betterness, like who longs for development and growth. And I think you are one of the right person to talk about when it comes to stop and go, like when it comes to freedom. And especially for the past few weeks, maybe months, I think more over than a year, you've become a new woman. Like you became so free from what you do. You're fresh, lost so much weight, keep up with like whatever things you need to do and so productive, eating healthy. Like, who is this new Hannah? Like, what happened? Like, what happened? What are the changes that happened?
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest, I guess, motivator behind any sort of change was definitely my will or desire to lose weight. And I think that came with a lot of different changes. But I think the root of even just wanting to lose weight was from me studying about and learning about habits. And, we are all creatures of habits and, we thrive off habits. In fact, like, I think it was like 40% of our day is literally built up of habits. So, just thinking about that, I just thought, what am I doing now? At that point, I was thinking, I'm at my heaviest weight. Um, when lockdown, I really felt out of control of things I was doing. Like everything, like my surrounding was controlling me, and nothing was in my power, is what I thought then. And then I figured, you know what, I can't live this life, another day. Like you mentioned about this whole podcast being this moment never coming back to you. When I don't want, this moment right now just lying down and rolling around, like not doing anything, like that's not something that I want to leave behind. And so with that thought, I thought, I gotta get up and gotta get disciplined. I need to change, and it all starts today. And um, yeah, I think that helped me not only really see results in my weight loss, but also just my outlook in life in general, like my perspective in life, um, how I treat others, how I treat myself more importantly. And so, yeah, it was definitely got to do with habits and how that is going to, how you choose your battles and you choose what kind of habits you want to adopt and strengthen and which ones you want to cut out. And yeah, I think that was basically the main motivator behind everything.
Wow. Wow. Habits. So, like, what made you want to change and like discipline yourself into building these habits?
Yeah, I think it was literally oh, it's kind of messy, but there was two perspectives I had at that time. First of all, live for the moment. Like today is not going to come back. Like today, 27th of August is never going to come back to me. And this is a day in history. And if I was to look back at this day, how would I want it to look like? And
Mm,
so thinking about that, I really wanted to make the fullest out of that day, as well as the thought that, you know what, at the same time, I have this whole life ahead of me and thinking just very prospectively about the long term things. I thought, if I'm going to live an extra, let's say, a lucky 70 years at most extra, then I want to at least make something or implement in my life a healthy lifestyle routines that I can, live. And I think that's going to really change the way, yeah, that just I think that thinking that way, like thinking very future forward, made me think I want to change how I'm living now, because right now I'm living, so lazy or like very sluggish, and I want to change so that my future self would thank me as well for
mm.
the decisions I make today. So that was really long-winded, but we got there in the end.
I love
Yeah.
it, love it. Wow. That's so good. Well, like definitely for sure like cuz I think when I tried like I think there comes a season where it's like oh, I want to change a habit or I want to change for a better me. I want to grow myself.
Mm.
I want to become a new me and like there's that time of season. But it's like it's like a diet where everyone is like 착심삼일 and then you know that term where it's like you go
Yeah,
for
yeah,
three
yeah.
days and then it's just it's every single day is a new day of a diet and I think that
Mm.
comes to it's like similar like same with habits. It's like oh I'm
Mm.
gonna do this today and the next day it's just like oh sluggish. I'm gonna do this
Exactly.
today and the
Yeah.
next day it's like lazy and I think me myself as well like I've been on that habit journey track for more than a year and like, yeah, a
Mm.
lot of people, some people says it takes 60 days to build a habit or 21 days to build a habit, but it's so hard actually, it's actually so hard to keep that 21 days going.
Mm.
Um and you have to like for me, I think I've never mastered building a habit in 21 days. It's always like 여러 번 해야 사실 지금도 I'm not completely I don't have that defined habit. But
Right.
is that same for you as well, or do you like jump straight into a habit, or like how many errors and trial did you have to go through in order to kind of complete where you are right now? Because in one of your last vlogs, you said you lost how many pounds? Is it 10
10
pounds?
kilos. Yeah, so 22 pounds, yeah.
22 pounds, man. Like 10 kilos. That's like sheesh. Like 솔직히, it's so hard to at least like man, I don't know how you do it, but like
Right,
how? Like how? Like how?
right. Yeah. Honestly, I think because obviously habits are very automatic things, and it's called a habit when it comes to a point where you don't consciously think about it. Um, for example, if touching your face is a habit, then 생각 없이 하니까 it just becomes a part of what you do and who you are. And so I think the biggest help that helped me to build at least a healthy routine or habits was definitely mindset. Everything, in my opinion, comes down to mindset. Um, Before I strive so much for like perfection, with the whole like 계산해서 만약에 it's 21 days, and I was like, I have to make it in 21 days or else I'm not going to get a habit. And I put this so much like pressure on myself, and it was just not enjoyable. Completely suck the life out of and the joy out of why I was doing this in the first place of wanting to build a healthy lifestyle. And so I think it came with lenience as well, being lenient with yourself, knowing, you know what, yeah, maybe I won't take 21 days, maybe I'll take 60 days, maybe I'll take 3 months, but as long as I'm taking tiny steps or something, I'm doing something to contribute to me having this changed routine and adopting that, then
Mm.
yeah, that I think that idea and mentality of progression more than perfection was definitely a big help, as well as it's so funny we're talking about habits today because this week I learned about how habits affect people in my one of my psychology units, and especially how habits and like routines are, how we build them and break them during COVID, and why people aren't um, you know listening to some of the regulations or why they feel the need to break some. So it's really interesting. But I think one of the things I also took out of that in hindsight makes me realize, oh yeah, it's definitely a part of the progress, was that it all comes down to how you change your surrounding to, I guess, help you make those habits. For example, you know, if people want to social distance, um, the biggest way we can make people and pave the way to do so is by having those stickers on the floor. It's like very environmental cues and environmental nudges that go, hey, by the way, you need to do this. And then one day, even if you weren't to have those stickers, it will just become of who you are. And I think in the same way, I reckon every day having those resources of healthier foods, having those resources of, you know, or a space, a 공간, a clean 공간 to do my workout, a peaceful, quiet 공간. I'm just giving myself environmental ways and opportunities for me to motivate myself as well. Because, at least for me, if you came to my room, even to like, I say last year, it was just a pigsty. Like I couldn't move in my room. Literally, it was just the bed was the cleanest part of my room. So honestly, I couldn't, move around. And because of that, I was just even more unmotivated to do anything in my room in general, beyond exercise. But then once I started cleaning my room, once I, started to 좀 공기도 들어오고, pull up the blinds and have
Oh
some,
yeah.
분위기, that really, I think, helped me to get in the mindset. So I think
Mm.
environment definitely affects you. And for me, because I love to-do lists, I love checking things off. I know you do too, like with
Oh
your
yeah.
14 days and stuff.
Oh
Yeah. And
yeah.
so having that on the wall where I can tick it off, like it was just,
Mm.
I think that in itself is a visual way of me remembering. And then once, I've ticked it all off, I realized like, oh, like I'm now doing it without me having to like tick it off, or like without me relying on that ticking off process or to-do list sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's ongoing process, giving yourself that sort of gentleness and patience. Because like everyone today, like 한국인으로서 더 그런 것 같은데, it's always 급해. It's like 지금 당장 right now, like
It's so true.
성적, 이거 돈, like everything is so immediate. So I think just giving yourself that patience and um, manipulating the things around you to suit you and help you is, I think, what I did.
Dang. I think that's so true. Like, wow. Like, wow. That's so true. And so many comments that I can say in what you said. Wow. I think that's really, really true. Like the environment, your surroundings, it definitely
Mhm.
affects how you think and how you activate your like body and your mind to act and move.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like I've been reading the book that you've gave me, if you remember. Like I have two books that you gave me. One is like
Right.
can you I don't even, can you see that? How do you see that? It's called To
Yeah,
Hell
yeah,
with the
yeah.
Hustle by
Uh-huh.
what? Jefferson Bethke. And
Yes.
the other book was Boundaries
Yes, yes.
by what's his name? Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. And both
Mhm.
these books, I think you gave it to me for both of my birthdays, right? Like this
Yeah,
one was
yeah.
last year, this one was this year. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I am enjoying this book so much. Like, what the actual heck? Like,
Right.
I'm trying to finish this book by this week. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna finish this book.
Oh,
I'm almost
wow.
there. Like, I read the first chapter you when you gave it to me, and then I kind of left it in my bookshelf, and then I was like, might as well finish a book during this break. And so I've been
Yeah.
reading this whole week, and oh my goodness, like this book was written before COVID, and you know how like
Mm,
right now we're in COVID, we're in lockdown. We've been in lockdown for like 2 months, not even allowed to go out because we have curfew after
mm.
9 p.m. and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
This book, it was talking about like rest, and habits. What was today's part? Like I was reading this morning and it was about um fast pace, like hurriness. And I don't think it's just us
Mm,
Koreans. Like, yes, we're Koreans,
mm.
we're Asians. It always has to be fast, 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 like bali, bali, bali. And I think Korean, they're known for like bali, bali, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I don't think it's just us Koreans. It's not just Asians, but it's like the whole world. Like we're in 2021, and
Mm.
not even 10 years ago did we have like iPhone 12, 13, where it has like three cameras at the back, you know? We never had 5G. It was always like flip phones. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I feel so old when I talk to you guys because I'm only like what 3, 4 years apart from you guys, and technology is just so fast paced. Like we have to hurry up. We
Mm,
can't. There's never a moment where we're still. And I
mm,
think, of course, we need a balance when to stop and when to go, and we need a balance when we're free and when we're not free. And definitely those time schedules is so important. But how do
mm,
you keep yourself like in a healthy momentum that you don't
mm,
overburden yourself? And especially
mhm,
like you and me, yes, like we go to the same church, we're leaders in like each ministry and groups, but there are times where like I think a lot of people kind of, oh, do this, do that, or like expect us to do good, but then there are so many times where
mm.
it's like you feel like you've reached your limit but you still need to do, and like now we're overburdened, and it's like, not to be rude to God, but it's like, God, just give me a break. Like there are those moments, you know?
Yeah.
But how do you deal with those stuff? Like it's a broad
Yeah.
question, I think, but yeah.
Right. Um, I 100% agree. Like, it's definitely because we're both yes mans. Like, we just, it's 99% yes. And like, it's just, a sense of like not wanting to put anyone else down or not wanting the sense of like to burden others. And so you put it on yourself. But I think it really comes down to honesty. Like, I think
Mm,
um, I would say like a biggest change for myself from last year was probably honesty. I think 더 솔직히, oh yeah, 솔직해진 것 같고, and I think I've been able to express my thoughts and emotions a bit better and not be so apologetic about it.
mm,
Learn that, like, yes, this is important, but I am just as important as well. If you want to serve more, if you want to do much better, and if that's aligned in your will, then you got to better yourself. And if you can't better yourself, then in the end it's going to burden other people even more. And so I guess just knowing that like it's okay to be honest. And if anything, I realize people appreciate your honesty about things more than you think. And like once I started opening up about how I feel like burdened about ABC reasons, like people were so much more understanding, and like they didn't react in the way I expected to, like, oh, why, how could you do that, but who else is going to do that? Like instead of that, it was more like, okay, like, do you, like, if you need the rest, take it. And even if in the worst case scenario they would say, oh, like, but no, 아니면 어떡해요, like, oh, but you have to do it. I realized like no is also a fruitful thing. No is not a sinful thing, but it's actually a good thing as well. And you know, I think because I so negatively associate the word like, or like rejecting or like saying no to things so badly, that I was so afraid to do so. But I realized like that in itself could, you saying no to something could be an opportunity for someone else to do something else, as well as an opportunity for yourself to grow. And it could be an opportunity for the whole, I guess, if it's like serving or events, it could go so much better with you saying no to it rather than saying yes. So the better good for everyone, if that makes sense. And
mm.
yeah, I think just honesty. Yeah. What do you
Wow.
think?
Honesty, I think that is so true. And that's something that we all lack of in today's society. Like, no one's honest with their own feelings. It's always
Right.
like TikTok, Instagram, you always upload something that kind of like 포장해, Like it
Mm,
wraps, like you hide behind the media. And it's like you always upload things that you want people to see, but that's not truly you. And I think
mm,
like that's more of a reason why I kind of want to do these podcasts, because I want to be vulnerable with people and I want to communicate with people on a personal level so that we can
mm,
actually open up and communicate, because like we can't even meet people outside, and because
mhm,
we're always staying indoors, I think we kind of get caught up with our own selves, and because we're
mm,
so comfortable with being our own selves, we don't reach out more to others, especially like
mm,
friends, like your really close friends, like you've become so close and comfortable to a point where it's like 연락도 안 해. And then every now and then I
mm.
feel so bad because like I can have the reasons to reach out, but at the same time, you're so comfortable that you don't.
That's true, yeah.
And yes, honesty is so good, but there are so many times where honesty kind of brings pain. And
Mm,
I think I still juggle with that. Like, yes, years back ago, I would always say yes and like drag myself down to like the grave.
yeah.
But I did kind of grow into saying no, because I need to take care of myself, and if I don't, then who will? Like it's not like I'm married, like no one's going to take care of me,
Mhm.
but I think you need to take care of yourself by saying no, and I think that is the first step to approach that.
Mm,
But like how do you still overcome that rejection? Like I think I still have that rejection and fear of, like I do say no, but after I say no, I come back home
mm.
and be like, maybe I shouldn't have said no. Like, oh my gosh, like I feel so
Yes.
terrible. And then a few days later or like afterwards, like it's totally fine and it's for the greater goods. But in that
Yeah.
moment, like you feel so, I don't know, I just hate that feeling.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how do you do that? Because when I see you, you're like always chill and like
yeah.
it's so chill. Like how do you
Right,
like
right.
yeah.
Mm. Wow, yeah. Honestly, I think I'm a huge overthinker as well. Like I overthink everything, but I realize like, that feeling when you say no to someone, like that feeling afterwards. Sometimes like, and most times I feel that same feeling after I say yes as well, because I realize like, oh, it's not a matter of me saying yes or no. I realized I just didn't have confidence in my response. Like that's what it was. Like I
Wow.
said no, I felt crap about it. I say yes, I feel crap about it. And it was just this gray area for both. And I realized like, why do I never feel so shione or like so like free about the decisions I made? And I realized like it's because I had no confidence in my decisions.
Wow.
And that's why I would always, go out to people and get those words of affirmation, like, hey, was this the right thing to do? But then I came to a point where I realized like I should, instead of going to people and asking them and affirming them, like getting affirmation from them first, I should just sit down, take a break, like think about, my heart, what do I honestly feel, that sometimes I might not be able to tell other people. And then from there I realized, oh, like I'm at peace with my decision no matter what other people say. Because if you go to other people to get that affirmation, you're ultimately getting, you want, confidence, or you want,
Mm,
um, you're asking other people for affirmation because you want to know that you did the right thing. But I
mm.
think you need to have that in your heart before you even approach other people. And I think that's when I became a bit more chill or less fanatic about the decisions I made.
Wow. Wow. 아, 소름 돋았어. Wow. That like that needs to be marked. Wow, I think we're always so caught up about the result. Like you said,
Mm,
not having confidence about your respond, but it's about how you react to what you say, like the confidence
mm,
that you have in the decision that you made. I think that's so true. And
right.
because I think a lot of us lack to kind of shut off the noise, and it's so
Mm,
noisy, like so many thoughts in our own brain, so many thoughts that comes from anxiety, thinking of what other people might think of me as well, but it's so
mm.
noisy and we don't know how to cut that off when it needs to be cut off.
Oh,
But
yeah.
wow, 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 wow.
Yeah, that noise. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow, like this morning I had this big conviction this morning where it's like Oh boy, it was obscurity. Like, is that the right
Mm.
pronunciation?
Obscurity? Can you explain?
Obscurity, obscurity,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
obscurity.
yeah.
O B
Yeah,
S Curity.
yeah.
I would pronounce it obscurity, but I think it's obscurity.
Right, right.
But anywho, yeah, it's about like the unknown, like
Mm,
silence. And I was just kind of like sitting down on that word, and
mm,
it like now I if I were to choose a word that can best describe my state, my status,
mm,
I would choose the word obscurity. But if it was me like
mm,
5 years ago, I would choose the opposite word.
mm.
Antonym, synonym, like
Antonym,
whatever that
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Antonym.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, I was just so amazed how like time can just fly by and how much you can grow in such
Mm,
little time. But I think, yeah, like in order to have the confidence in your response, you need to be able to stand still. Like you need to have that moment of obscurity by yourself.
mm,
And because like we're always so like chew chojo on what other people says, we need to seek affirmation. We need to go and have the right, like we need to get approval from people. And I think that's what
mm,
we are. We always seek for meaningful things. We always seek for approval. We want that attention and affirmation. But sometimes it's like that doesn't come from other people. It comes from our own self, and we need to
yeah.
accept and acknowledge it. But why do we go to other people and want approval?
Mm,
Right? And like, well, I definitely for sure still struggle with that, but
mm.
what do you think about that? Like, do you struggle with that? And like, what are your opinions about that?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I still struggle with that a lot. Like I Right. Yeah, well, I'll just say, like, for example, when I make like YouTube videos, I sometimes say or do particular things that question, like, is this a sensitive thing to do? And so I always go to Jenny. I always go to Jenny. I hit her up first. I'm like, yo, Jenny, like, have a look at this like clip. Let me know if there's anything like weird or like off that I say or do or seems, weird or anything like that. And she would always give me that feedback. And
Wow.
then so yeah, that always does happen. Like as much as I do want to say, like, yeah, I'm like absolutely confident in my decisions, like I really am not. And I really hope I come to a point in my life one day where I can stand firm in what I believe in my, decisions. Um, but I think, yeah, even friends, if I was to ask them, let's say 20 times that week, like just reducing it slowly each week by week, at least like I try to not exceed the amount I'm asking affirmation. Like if I'm asking to a certain extent, I don't want to exceed it. Or if not, I just realize like I'm going to be more reliant on them. So I
Mm,
try to keep the boundary, not only for the sake of my friends, but for myself as well, so that I don't become so reliant. Um, because who knows, like those friends, family members may not be with us one day and your source of reliance is just gone, and what are you going to do then, so
that's so true.
just trying to, yeah,
Mm,
be confident in myself, but at the same time try to ask, you know with a second perspective, if I'm doing the right thing or not. I think it's so hard because it's such a thin line between, are you too stubborn and think everything you're doing is right, or are you too reliant? Like having that balance is or finding that balance is so difficult and challenging, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. Especially doing because like if it's just for your own self, then yeah, like
Mm.
you and your friends would only know. But when it comes to I think like YouTube or like social media or whatever that you like publish publicly, it's so controversial at sometimes because it's
Yeah.
that thin line of, oh, someone's gonna say no to that, but I say yes. But then it's not about yes
Mm.
or no. It's about like it's just my opinion. It's just my heart. It's not that I'm saying
Mm.
that this is right or wrong. But so many people comes up and shade it, and it's just
Mm.
like, yeah, it's yeah, like how do you set boundaries with that? Like you can't even define, oh, this is right or wrong, but it
Mm.
like I think in order to be free, we do need to set up boundaries and there needs to be
Mm.
somewhat kind of limitations. But how do you like like there are temptations when it's like, oh, 조금만 해도 괜찮아, or like, just
Mm.
a little bit is all right. But is there any disciplines that you kind of like whip yourself to, or like how do you know that thin line when it comes to that thin line decision? Like, how do you know like where to go? Is it a stop or is it a go? Like, how do you know?
Mm. Wow. How
Mm.
do I know? Wow. Um, that's a really challenging question. I reckon, how do I know? I'm definitely still in the progress of finding out. Um, but I think again, comes down to mindset, and I figured it's as cliche as it may sound, like my, I guess, rules or values or standards, I guess, is based off the Bible. And if the Bible says, ABC, then I try to align that as much as possible. And I think that to me could seem like the most objective standard as to how much should I be relying on this or that, or doing this and that, or saying this and that. Because obviously everybody has their own opinions, like you mentioned, and it's such a subjective world. And to find what is right, it's so hard because everyone, what I see as black, some people might see as white, and what I
Mm.
see as right, everyone else might see as wrong. And it's just such a, yeah, like you said, controversy, because everybody has such conflicting opinions. But I guess the Bible is quite set in what you could do or what you can't do. And so I guess just getting, I guess, morals or values from there, sticking to that and making that my objective measurement of, I guess, how well I'm doing or what I should or shouldn't be doing. Um,
Mm.
the boundaries from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so, yeah. I'm so grateful that you've mentioned like values that you kind of like base it off from the Bible and kind of go from there. Where I think it's really hard to set what your values are and like where you kind of set your standards at.
Mm.
But especially like I think you're one of the most, like for me, you're one of those smart, trendy, up to date, savvy 20s. Like that's you. Like you're up to
Oh my
date,
gosh.
and I just love that about you because it's not like you don't really follow the trend though. Like you're up to date and you know what's good, what's happening, but oh, snap. Sorry, that's my dinner snooze.
That's so
But
good.
but it's like you don't seem to follow the trend or the culture or how the society is kind of like pulling you to do
Mm.
or to be like like why not? Or are
Yeah.
you?
Right. Oh, like I wouldn't be honest if I said I wasn't. Like definitely I try to keep up with the trend in terms of making content, or you know, because we're so on social media all the time, like you can't help but know what's going on. But I think there's an element of, because I've been posting videos for quite a while now, and whether it's on trend or off trend, I realize like, you know, that really doesn't determine the audience you're gonna drag in, at least from my experience. Like 어떤 컨텐츠를 내도 it's like the response just seemed to be the same. Or maybe it's like, whole different factors of like YouTube algorithm or whatnot. But I just realized, yeah, I'm just gonna do me and be me. And who knows, that could be the trend in a few years' time. And if not, at least I know I'm doing what I love. And like when I try to do trendier things, like sometimes it's fun, but sometimes it's really like I could feel I'm, not being myself. Like I know for example, like I was trying to film a that girl video the other
Oh yeah.
day, you know,
The
and
it
like,
girl.
yeah, the girl, that girl, and it just, I don't know, like as much as I love the idea behind it, um, some of it just seemed too forced sometimes. Like I'm very happy with the way I'm living right now, for
Oh
example,
yeah.
but to do that, it's like, oh, you know, you can always personalize it. But yeah, that's why I just try to stick to and believe in myself and my own capabilities rather than me, blowing up from hopping onto the different trends and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you reckon like that had to do like that mindset had to do with kind of accepting yourself more and like getting to know more about yourself?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Just appreciating, you know, what creative skill sets I have and what different I guess talents I have, and just based off that realizing, just everybody is so unique in their own way, and everybody has such a different story to tell, and
Mm.
there is no better story or worse story, boring story, fun story. It all just comes down to yourself and your own uniqueness and differentness. And I mean, trends are fun. I mean, trends are definitely fun, but I guess knowing again the boundary and limiting yourself, like knowing 어디까지 괜찮은지. Yeah.
Wow. That's so true. Wow. Um, yeah. It's like
What do you
social
think? Yeah.
media, like kind of like going a little bit sidetrack, I guess, but
Mm.
social media, it's pretty absorbing, you know? Like the more you see, you tend to see more. And the
Yeah.
more you know, like you want to know more. And like the more you scroll, it's like, oh, 더 계속 봐야지. And then you keep on scrolling until it's like what, 5 a.m. and it's like, oh shoot, it's 5 a.m., you know? But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's pretty absorbing where it's like really sucks you in. And becoming a
Mm,
YouTuber and using social media for like content as a means of marketing, it's that's one thing. But sometimes you get too sucked into it. And like
mm.
one day you see yourself like, oh, I don't care about the numbers or the followers. But then one day
Yeah.
you that anxiety kicks in from like
Yeah.
comparison, desire of wanting to live off of YouTube and like those stuff
Mm,
kicks in. But like yeah, like how do you manage to kind of like step away from that anxiety? Because I myself did that too, and it's just like I just can't deal with that, and I had to just kind of like go away from all social media, and like maybe it could
mm,
have been a sabbatical or like a ritual where it's like, oh,
mm,
I need to kind of fast from social media or something. But like how how would you approach that anxiety or like when that season comes in? Because I don't think it just comes in once, it comes every now and then, you
mm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I can definitely say, like, because obviously my at first, what the reason why I started YouTube was because I loved just experimenting with videos and um like hearing from friends like, oh, this is, fun. Like I loved how you captured this, edited this, and just the feedback from my closest circle. And that was enough for me. But obviously as time goes and um YouTube itself is, a lot about the views and a lot about what's popping at that time and everything like that. So when being completely honest, like even the most recent video I uploaded, there was so much response to that video, and I just couldn't help but like maybe even like every few hours or so just check, who else commented or how many likes, how many views, is this gonna be popping off on the YouTube algorithm? And I'm definitely guilty of that, and I constantly do that. Um, but I'd say it could, that could be healthy, but it could also get very toxic. Healthy in the sense that
Mm.
seeing that response, or what works, what didn't work, giving yourself that feedback. I guess
Mm.
the whole analytical part of YouTube, like it really gives you a sense of what can I further do or improve on. But on the other hand, like you mentioned, like you get so absorbed in it, and like everything, like I'd say, like becomes YouTube content material. Like you live your everyday life and like, oh wait, I need to stop, get my camera out. This is YouTube content. I gotta film this. Like I don't know, from one day I was so embarrassed to even take out the camera or even show my parents my camera. And then one day, like I started just recording everything in front of them. And I figured, wow, like I've come to a point where YouTube filming and everything is so in part of my life. And that's when I realized, is this getting too overhand? Like, am I losing the joy out of the raw reality moment because I'm so
Oh
behind the
yeah.
camera? And
Yeah.
so, holy, I just went on a different tangent, but yeah, it was just a, you know, um, it does get to you. Point being, like, it
Mm.
does get to you. It still gets me today. Um, I'm trying to just see it as feedback more than me wanting, you know, a bigger greed. Um, but then obviously if you're thinking to do YouTube full time, you can't help but see and look at those things. And yeah, I'm still trying to find that balance and not get it too much in my head. That
Mm.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Cause like at first it's like, oh, I just wanna like 소소하게, it's like, oh, I just wanna do
Mm.
me. I just wanna do it for fun. And then
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
you
yeah.
get to capture that. So you take control of what you're doing. But then next
Mm.
minute, because you're so like into the algorithms, you like the views, and it's getting higher and higher, next minute it's controlling you. And it's like you don't
Yeah.
really know. And like when you're in the YouTube zone, it's like you put your mask on. Like there's a moment where
Mm.
it's like you do kind of fake a little bit, and you have to do that.
Mm.
Like you have to kick that caffeine in to kind of like boost up your like energy level a little bit, you know? And
Mm.
sometimes some people can seem that it's fake, and you yourself can agree to that as well, because I am so guilty of that as well.
Mm.
But like how do you set boundaries in those kind of moments? And especially like I
Yeah.
don't think it's really easy as well, but how like cuz you definitely don't want to be controlled by a small YouTube thing where it's just YouTube. But
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes it does definitely come to you as like an idolizing thing, or it comes to you
Yeah.
as you prioritize it more than you should. But
Mm.
how do you kind of like manage to kind of be like, hey, I need my day where it's like no YouTube day, no filming day.
Mm.
Like, can you kind of balance that, or what do you do in order to have that free space of time?
Mm. Yeah. Um, Definitely. I think well, especially because it's lockdown, I think because you're by yourself anyway, so recording yourself doesn't really do much harm. I would say that cautiously, but in
Mm,
comparison to like when you're with your friends and you've got the camera like shoved into their face, like obviously compared to that, like 혼자서 하는 게 그나마 쉬워. But
yeah.
yeah, I think just choosing, oh man, for example, like I still don't record myself exercising, like because I just don't like the feeling of it. And
Mm,
it feels weird. I feel like I have to like, because like when I'm exercising, I love to just like go crazy, go all out, but I don't really, I'm not comfortable yet showing that to the whole world, to the whole
mm,
internet. And so just knowing, I guess, what joys that I want to share with other people, but not with it still being in your comfort zone. Like,
mm,
and I realize like if I'm doing something because I want content, then I try to stop. Like for example, like if I'm on purposely doing things like, oh, let me on purposely send things to my friends so I can film it. If it's like to that point, I try to stop myself.
mm,
Um, and I try to strip it all back and just take the camera to the side and revise why exactly am I doing this? Like questioning myself in that moment.
yeah.
Sometimes, like some of my friends, like they're more than happy to join in, but I just really hope that it doesn't get to a point where my friends just suddenly become YouTube material, YouTube
Mm,
tools or anything
that's
like
so
that.
true.
Yeah, because it's everywhere on YouTube. Like you see, without calling out names, like some big YouTube people, like they have these teams or these gangs or these friends, these families, but they're all just YouTube material for each other, and like they're just all
Yeah.
dollar signs in the end. And so I really hope I don't come to that point. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to stop myself by, you know, questioning myself constantly, as well as um, questioning, is this going to bring better good to other people,
Mm.
to myself? And um, am I really enjoying my life outside of YouTube as well? Just like constant questioning, I think is the best way I could
Wow.
describe it, because other than that, I really can't think of any other, I guess, strict boundaries beyond that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Wow. Ah, wow. Wow. Yeah, because I think it shows when you're like purely like when you're honestly doing what you're doing with pure intentions, like it shows.
Yeah.
And like the viewers,
Mm,
the watchers, they feel that as well. And I think maybe that's why we have intellectual feelings. But
mm,
when you're purposely creating content just for the sake of it, and you kind of use your friends or like your surroundings for that content, I think 너무 티나. But when you're
Yeah,
really
yeah.
raw and when you do it just for the sake of it and then you film what you're doing,
Mm.
I think that's when it really touches people. And I think that's when auth- authenticity kicks in.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just you and that's your content. That's you being you. And I think
Mm.
when the people receives what you do for them and they watch that, it's like, oh, Hannah had this kind of intention, and they get to kind of know the behind the scenes of you and your intentions more.
Mm.
And I think that's when honesty kicks in because you're honest about it. um but definitely I think it's such a scary thing when you you start to kind of plan out your contents for the momentum, for the rhythm, so that it doesn't, that you don't lose track, and then you start
Yeah,
creating,
yeah.
oh, what kind of content is good, and then all of a sudden you're such a content creator that you forget the people around you. And then
Mm.
because you start hustling so much, you're so busy, you're so hurrying, that you actually hurt the people around you. Like they
Yeah,
want to spend
yeah.
time with you, they want to get grab coffee and sit down and have that real talk with you, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need to film this, and then you take out a
Mm.
camera, and then they feel so like, oh, I can't do this no more.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think I might have done that a few times, and I felt so bad.
Mm.
And then I became so introverted that like I can't open up my camera no more, and then
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
happened. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for real. Like that's why I've told at least my closer circle of friends that are more 자주 나와 on my YouTube. Like I told
Mm,
them, look, if it comes to a point where 살짝이라도 그런 느낌이 오면, you gotta let me
mm,
know straight away. Like, because I don't want to risk anything for especially my relationships. And I just
yeah.
know that if I was to be in their shoes and if I had a friend who does YouTube and, you know, does all these like things and 처음에는 당연히 because you want to support them you would do it like without anything but 그냥 좀 더 thinking a bit more I guess in the future if they happen to like pop off like
Yeah.
just starting to making sure that you have that kind of like accountability from when you have nothing and making
Yeah.
sure you have that mentality when you have nothing so when you have something you still have that like that kind of um, accountability and checkups almost it's I guess the same way we treat money like 없을
Mm.
때 어떻게 하는지 아니면 그 마음을 보고 you
Wow.
want to maintain that when you have something so
That's so true.
definitely big struggle.
Wow, that's so true. Wow. That I think that's why I'm appreciating accountability so much these days. Where
Mm,
like the more you can't see them, and like you like just by reaching out and like online like catch ups, it's such an awkward
mm.
thing to do, but it's so like fulfilling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like
definitely.
you're like, even though you're inside and we're in lockdown, like I think you're still a workaholic. You're a busy ass person. And I think you're always constantly busy, but still, yeah, when I even ask you like as a when I ask you a request or a favor, you
Mm.
still manage to say yes and still do things. But how do you manage your like how do you manage to work your time around a busy schedule? And I think because you're always so like busy, like do you purposely intentionally leave like space, like free time just for yourself? And if you do, like do you have any rituals to keep yourself disciplined? Or yeah.
Right. Um, I think I what I used to do was write down a to-do list first thing in the morning. But then again, like sometimes like it might make me sound super sensitive, but like it came to a point where if I didn't tick it off, it would make me so guilty again, because I wasn't hustling.
Oh
And
yeah.
like the book you read, and like 억지로라도 I try to tick it off just to make myself feel better. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like that's the defeats the whole purpose,
That's so
of like
true.
doing all of that. Yeah. So um I just as of in within lockdown, I try to go with the flow more. I try to because my life is so routinic. Like morning, I tutor some kids, and then from 1 p.m. onwards, I study a bit, and then talk to friends and whatnot. So I'm quite flexible with my time, but
Mm,
I regardless of what I do that day, the bottom line for me is that I've grown somehow, like in the smallest of ways, whether it be in a friendship, whether it be in my creativity in YouTube, whether it be my relationship with like God, or like my relationship with my body, like some sort of growth, and that I, you know, am being kind to myself as well, and like am
Yeah.
lenient to myself. So, each day is quite different, but I try to at least do something, like whether it be you know, some, like, honestly, yesterday I had a full day of like napping almost. And, usually that'd be
You
like,
need
oh,
that.
how could I? Yeah, yeah, definitely. You too. And like, I
Mm,
realized, like, like that's okay. If that at that time was what I needed, that's fine. Like,
mm,
um, so I would say I'm I'm not busy, but yeah, I'm definitely occupied, or
mm,
somehow be doing something to better myself, to better other people, however that may look like. Like if you know, I can study, obviously that's important, but for example, if I can spend more time with my friends or someone who's struggling or just in general want to have fun, I'd play several hours of games with them and like not feel guilty about it, because I know at least I'm, you know, building something with my friends. And
mm.
the next day, if I want to study, and it's very flexible, point being. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's so good though. Like having that acknowledgement of you need to develop or grow yourself in this kind of area and like know where you're at, who you are, what you
Mm.
do.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's so precious. And especially like being able to see you grow in like already 5 years, I think. What the heck with time? It doesn't even feel like it's been 5 years, but being able to see
I
you
know,
grow
right?
so much in so little time, but yeah, it could be a long time, but still like 5 years is like a bean of green peas. I don't know, like it's just a grain of like it's tiny,
Yeah, yeah.
but being able to see you develop yourself and like really loving yourself, seeing that change of you hating yourself from the point to you love yourself so much that you care about every moment of your life. I think that's
Mm.
so precious to see. Um, but yeah, is there anything that you think you need to stop in this season?
Oh, stopping the season. Um, as much as I love psychology, and as much as I love how the mind works, and, you know, just the beauty of the mind, I think sometimes I need to stop my thoughts and
Mm,
my mind from going so quickly,
yeah.
um, and going into a rabbit hole of different thoughts, like whatever it may be, might be to do with God, it might be to do with like friends or YouTube. Like sometimes, yeah, like I said, I'm such an overthinker.
Mm,
And I think, yeah, I need to stop relying, or like being so indulged in my thoughts, and sometimes, yeah, just be still, be silent,
mm.
and just soak up the moment and not just my thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it's really important that you have that silent moment.
Mm,
Yeah, that's so true. And then is there
yeah.
anything that you need to like go? Like, is there a go for you to do in this season?
Or like something I want to do.
It can be something that you want to do or something that you kind of want to push yourself to do or yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Something I want to push myself to do. Probably, yeah, most likely my relationship with God. I think that's, or clarity in that, some sort of clarity in that. So, you know, devoting more time to even do more research, or like to talk more to other people about all things related to God. I
Mm,
think that's what I should try to do, especially now that we have so much time.
yeah.
I want to, yeah, devote more time and energy into that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And well, it's been quite a while since talking, but last question, like, is there
Yes.
anything you'd like to leave behind in the lab before you go today?
Oh, I love that. Okay. Anything I
Whee!
want to leave in the lab? Um, oh my gosh. I want to say, is this for myself? Or is this
I think I'm gonna be asking this question to everyone, like for the very
right?
last question. But
Okay.
like for you, yes, for you yourself, what do you want to
Oh,
leave or
okay.
like what do you want to mark
Yeah.
for you? Mm,
Yeah. Okay. Um, you know, treat everyone as if it's like their last day because you never know what could happen, and you want to, you know, always treat people with kindness and respect, and especially in a time like today where we're in COVID. And same way, do that to yourself. Make sure you treat yourself with love and respect as well. And just be kind to yourself and be a friend to yourself, I'd say, is what I want to leave
Aw.
behind.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for coming down, like
Thank you.
talking with me, really sharing your own life discovery, your life experiments, your thoughts, your feelings. Yeah, like thank you for being our special experiment of the day. And yeah, whoever's listening, thank you so much for listening. Go check out Hannah Kim in her YouTube. She's such a great video content person, like really like a multi-diverse person who is studying psychology, but yet she's a YouTube creator. Like, how crazy is that? But yes, go check her out, subscribe, like, put that notification on at Hannah Kim. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, you can find her. What's your Instagram?
At Hannah Yu Kim.
Hey, and you can find me at the dominant piece or piece Kwon, or yes, soon to be leave it all behind in the lab Instagram. But thank you everyone for listening, and thank you so much, Hannah, for being here.
No,
Hope
thank you for
to
inviting me.
next time if there's another chance, please, let's have another chat next time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is so fun. Like 너무 고마워. Like
No,
oh,
no.
진짜 like first guest, but
Oh,
so it was so good.
oh, wow. I think in the beginning it was quite like scary, but 이제 막, easing into it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
맞아. 진짜 다음에 있으면 더 재밌게. We'll start relaxed
Oh
in a
yeah, for
relaxed
sure.
state. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah.
No worries.
Well, yeah, well, that's a wrap. That's it.
Oh.
Everyone, see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.